So anyway, welcome to the Huck. We have Nate Hills here today. Nate, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing great,
Pretty
man.
damn
Welcome
good.
in.
Yeah. So why don't we start off by telling everybody who you are and what you do and how you came to do what you're doing?
I have been racing mountain bikes for 12 years now, and my background is I race pro downhill. I had a pro cross country license for a couple of years. I've sort of settled on enduro as my chosen discipline. It kind of blends everything together. Kind of like all that stuff. Recently, probably how you guys know me is through YouTube. I started a YouTube channel like a year and maybe 4 months ago now, and it's been picking up momentum and growing and all that. So I've been having fun doing that side of things, and yeah, that's kind of my sort of general broad background, if you will.
Even putting skills aside, just being able to access incredible trails all the time and constantly post new ones is, I think, the biggest barrier. And obviously, you've got
Yeah,
that figured out.
yeah, for sure. Like you said, like traveling and doing the race thing, it's always I'm already there anyway, right? So if I
Yeah.
can film some of the tracks or some of the iconic trails in the area, then all the better. And my whole angle is like I'm trying to show these trails ridden like by pros at trail
Right.
speed, like a different perspective than a lot of people have seen, right? So that's
Yeah.
kind of my deal. It's cool. It's been a good project, and I haven't. I've been using the gimbal full time, and that's the only thing I'm going to film with. As far as chest stuff, it's all I can really watch when I'm like looking at YouTube. Everything else is shaky and crazy, and like I'm super into using that thing and making cool footage
Yeah.
with it. And
Yeah.
this all came about because I used to, when you race enduro, you might be lucky to get one or two practice runs on a track. So you always film the track, right?
Oh, that's
So
a good
then
idea.
I'm going back through my footage, looking at the tracks, and I can't even see the trail in my helmet cam stuff. So I was like, well, I need to do something better so I can actually see the finer points of these tracks that I'm going to race tomorrow.
Dude,
So I
that's so
started using the
cool.
gimbal in that capacity, and I was like, oh, I can actually see the trail now, and this is sweet. And it actually helped my racing and that sort of thing, using it that way.
Is that something that a lot of racers do? Like they film the track so that they can go back and review it before the race?
A lot of the top racers do that because I mean, basically the situation is like I'll fly to Mexico, and then I've never been these trails. I have no idea. You have like 2 days to practice. You have to save energy for the race, or you're just gonna suck, right? So
Yeah.
like you got to sort of budget your output with how many eyes you get on the track, right? So like if you can film the track once and ride it once, sometimes that's a better strategy than trying to do like 4 runs on it and then be so tired that you can't ride fast for the race. So filming that cleanly and getting a good run on it and then being able to go back and watch that is a huge benefit to people that have never raced, or it's like blind tracks, right? So
Yeah.
Right now, anybody who watches your channel that's watching this, they're in the comments right now like post those videos of those enduro courses from back in the day.
yeah, I should put up some of that stuff that I have, and I have tons of footage, but like my whole deal is I'm always trying to balance, like you guys, I'm trying to balance
Yeah.
the modern attention span with
Yep.
like how long are people going to stay engaged. And I like what BKXC has done, where he's like his Patreon is set up for like longer based video format. So I was thinking about maybe doing something like that and putting up bigger edits or more things that other people could access in different ways. But for the attention span, I try to keep it like 4 to 7 minutes, and
Yeah.
it is a sweet platform for it still is kind of for fun for me, the YouTube thing, but I'm not really trying to spam people. But if they're stoked on what I'm doing and my products that I
Yeah.
use, my sponsors are in there, then all the better for everybody, right?
Hell
And
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of which, who are your sponsors? Like who are your main sponsors and what do they all do for you?
SRAM and RockShox are probably my biggest sponsor. Those guys provide all my drivetrain and all of my suspension and that sort of thing. I do race for Yeti. I'm technically an ambassador for those guys. For Yeti, they do my clothing and my frames, and I organize all the rest of my situation. Smith helps me out a lot. Ergon, who makes grips and saddles in my packs, that sort of thing. Those guys help me out a ton. Oscar Blues, who is a local brewery in Colorado,
I've
actually
heard of
sponsors
it.
me and helps me out with that stuff. So those are good guys.
Definitely
Yeah,
somewhere
I
you
have a
got to
bunch of
visit in North
bunch of
Carolina for
smaller
that.
partners and help from the bike industry to basically make travel happen and projects happen and support my racing and let me do this kind of thing. So
That's awesome. So aside from filming and YouTube and everything like that, when you go out to ride and you can pick anything to ride, what's the type of trail that you're really interested in just riding for fun?
boy, anymore, I'm more like at home in the mountains and on natural trail and really rugged, kind of raw terrain. I love I'm a big dirt jumper and I like tight dirt jump sets on a hardtail and I like the bike park stuff, but I'm more of a natural terrain guy and I like cruising the jumps and riding all that stuff too, but like I want to be off the beaten path, like rustic, weird trails, slapping through the bushes and running over rocks and
No
pretty much
reception.
yeah, unmanicured, not
Right.
sanitized, like natural trail is where my heart's at right now.
That's cool. No, that's admirable.
That's
I mean,
why you
that's
like that
really the
Colorado
spirit of
stuff.
mountain biking. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
crust
I feel
dude.
like once you've ridden like one flow trail, you've ridden most of them. It's like the same turns and apexes and turns and berms, and I sort of just like the challenge of like janky like shit alpine trail where you have to like make it work, and
Yep.
it's like you're thinking and it's more engaging than just like cruising like blue flow stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in your Bartlett video, I could tell that you're used to riding a lot of different types of terrain because who's your friend that was in front of you?
That's
Mirrors.
my buddy Kyle Mears.
Kyle Mears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of clips of him. I saw during that Bartlett video, he was like, "Okay, yeah, there's gonna be a little gap over here, and then we're gonna turn down to make sure you keep up your speed." And you're like, "Okay, I trust you." And of course, that was your first time riding that feature, and you just followed him right over it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been riding with that guy for a bunch of years, and we've been in all sorts of stupid situations together, and basically trust each other to. If I know a line, I'll tow him into it, and he won't even question it, and he'll hit a 40-foot jump behind me without looking at it, or vice versa. Like if he's confident of where this is going to go, and he's done it before, I know that I can just follow his wheel, and it'll be okay, you know.
We all have friends who will do just crazy things in a bike. At what point do you tell your dear friend, like, don't do that or stop? Because I personally never do.
I never do either. But I'll tell you, man, Kyle's 45 years old.
No way.
He's the most skilled human being that I've spent like a lot of time riding with. I mean, I've ridden with like a bunch of the best people, whatever, in
For
the world,
sure.
best racers, right? But like that guy has a style and like just
So
like
smooth.
like nothing I've ever seen, right? Like I'm a better racer than he is, but he is so much more skilled than me on a bike that it's just silly. Like the way he rides and his approach, and it's just like brute force and power, but like fluid smoothness.
He has
But
total command of the bike and the terrain. I mean, I've
yeah,
seen him in front of you.
just skills, man. And on his home trails, it's like fucking poetry to follow him and watch. It taught me so much, and like he says I taught him everything, but that's
Hell
much
yeah,
of
man.
shit. Like he's definitely really skilled. So when he's like, oh, I'm gonna do this 50-foot gap, I'm like, okay, well, I support your decision. Go for it, bro. Like
Yeah.
what might look crazy to one person is like child's play to the local that rides that shit all the time. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh, yeah.
just interesting.
I think that's such a cool discussion. You hadn't like scouted most of that stuff. You were just following him one time.
I'd never ridden a single thing of that. The only thing that I scouted was that mushroom drop thing.
Dude, that thing was beast. I wish you had turned around and showed everyone that.
I
'cause
saw that thing.
We eyed that thing, and
like,
that
no
was
way.
massive, and it looked so small on your video.
It
dude.
looks
That thing
looks
is
so
huge.
small. And the gimbal, there you go, right? It's like you
That
can
thing's
go
not small.
15 foot to rock, and it doesn't even like shake. So people
Dude,
have no
I know.
concept of, like how big that thing actually is.
Like the
But-
approach to it and the drop, like the diagonal approach to dodge that rock on the right,
approach-
and then
Yeah, it's just
so
transition,
sketchy.
Like, oh, it's so sketchy.
It's a weird thing, and it's blind. And I basically, we like did a few circles and did a couple
Yeah.
run-ins, and then like I was like, all right, I'll just follow you into it, and sure enough, it works fine. You know.
I was thinking about it hard. Like, I was looking at it, I saw tire marks, and I'm like, somebody's doing this. But Bartlett, like, f***s with your head because there's nothing around to give you a frame of reference for how big everything is. There's not, like, trees and bushes. It's just, like...
That's it. Like, the perspective out there is just different. It's like being on the moon, and you don't know what's big and small, and it's just a hard thing to get your head around, like, the size factor out there. Yeah. So
we have this one shot on Brian's drone where we were at the half pipe, and someone hit it, and then like he zoomed out, and you saw it was like there was this half pipe of rock, and then you zoomed out a little bit, and then it's like it like sloped down, but then he zoomed out even further, and it's like there was just this one piece on this massive, like larger than life cliff, and it was just this one little part.
Yeah,
and it like really captured the vastness of that area. So cool.
It's really, really cool and unique and unlike anything I've ever really seen anywhere. Just giant skate park and ride around and figure it out and find lines, you know.
Speaking of which, do you have a history in BMX?
I do. I have dirt jumped for like 15 years, and I have a sweet Yeti hardtail DJ that has a 100 mil fork on it. Just set up single speed, no gears. Just go and ride that thing quite a bit. And there's some cool jump parks like pretty close to me and around Denver that I can ride. So yeah, I do enjoy that stuff and try to ride that bike as much as I can when I'm not traveling and that sort of thing.
That's
Seth, would you ever consider trying to race?
No. First of all, I'm not fit enough, and the amount of time and commitment that I would have to put in to get fit enough. I have a web development company and a YouTube channel, and I work 7 days. There's no way.
I haven't ridden with you enough yet, but I have yet to see you really struggle physically.
No, but we're not trying to kill it. Like if I catch somebody I blow any XC racer around here away in a minute. After a minute, the gap closes up and they're gone. Yeah. And they're gone. I start throwing up. I rode with Clint Gibbs over in Ocala. I kept drinking more and more water, and my body wasn't absorbing it. I didn't have enough like salt in my system, I guess. And then I'm trying to keep up with Clint. I pull over the side, and I'm like, dude, and I can't even speak loud enough for him to hear me. So he's like goes off in the distance. I have my GoPro on, and I threw up like 2 liters of water. So in conclusion, no racing for me. If you've seen point of view mountain biking channels, you might be under the impression that you've seen them all, but that's really not the case. Everybody's got different riding styles. Everybody rides different places, and when you watch Nate's channel, you're behind the cockpit of a pro enduro racer, and the people he's following are always seriously skilled. So it's a good watch, I assure you. So check the description for links. And Nate, it was awesome having you.
Yeah, today. Thanks. I appreciate the time, and it's good to rap with you guys a little bit here. And
for sure,
it was great to meet you. Thank you.
So now, being that it's still like 60 degrees out in Denver, and you only have about an hour to go to ride, I guess it's time for all of us to get the Huck out of here.